It's 16 minutes into Waiting to Exhale when Bernadine, played by Angela Bassett, finally snaps. Her husband of 11 years just told her that he's leaving for his secretary, his white secretary. The betrayal cuts deep, but deeper still is the realization that she's been set aside like an afterthought. And so, in a fury, she gathers his suits, his shoes, his golf clubs, everything he held dear, and tosses them into his luxury car. This is the scene, the one everyone remembers.
It's against the law to burn anything except trash in your own yard.
It is trash.
But, to be honest, it's not my favorite moment of the film. In 1985's National Endowment for the Arts Research Division report, it found that Black people read at lower rates than whites, with almost 1/3 of Black people not reading a book or magazine within the last year. Comparably, 90% of white respondents had. Now, there are many factors that we could dive into to dissect this matter, but y'all came here for a movie, so I'll try to deduce this down. While there is a literacy problem in this country that disproportionately affects Black people, in the mid to late 80s, Black literature was scarce, and Black literature that readers actually wanted to read was even more rare. You see, back then, the books by Black authors that actually got commercially published were usually highbrow literary works or historical dramas. Don't get me wrong, those books are important, but it was rare to find stories where Black people were just being themselves, navigating modern life, dealing with love, friendships, career, and everything in between.
Terry McMillan. That's who I am. I'm a writer, but first I'm a woman, Black.
Disappointed in her publisher's lack of promotion for her debut book, Mama, in 1987, Terry McMillan took a grassroots approach and wrote letters to thousands of booksellers and news media. And in turn, her debut novel sold out of its initial print of 5,000 copies. Her second novel, Disappearing Acts, followed in 1989. It's a love story, or if you ask me, more like a horror story about a woman falling for quite literally the worst man in the world. But despite the drama, or maybe because of it, the book resonated with readers and did pretty well, continuing to build McMillan's reputation as a writer who wasn't afraid to tackle messy, complicated relationships with honesty.
Well, some of it I like and some of it I don't.
The book proved to publishers that Black love stories could be profitable, and it reined in a substantial purchasing public. But all her commercial success didn't earn her any love from the highbrow literary circles. In fact, in a 1992 New York Times article, McMillan expressed her frustration with the lukewarm reception she received from some of her peers. She even shared an awkward moment with Alice Walker, the celebrated author of The Color Purple. At a reading Walker was doing, McMillan went up and introduced herself, likely hoping for camaraderie or some sort of acknowledgement. But instead, she was met with a cold, dismissive, "Yeah, I know who you are," basically, from Alice Walker. It's a seemingly painful anecdote, and one that speaks volumes about how McMillan's work, groundbreaking in its own right, was sometimes undervalued or dismissed by those who didn't see it as fitting within the boundaries of serious literature. But instead of dwelling on the lack of validation, McMillan doubled down on her mission: to tell the stories of modern Black women with authenticity and flair. She didn't need to depict her characters as sharecroppers or use complicated prose to resonate with her audience. And that determination would lead her to her career-defining novel.
There's a big difference between being thirsty and being dehydrated.
In 1992, McMillan released Waiting to Exhale. In the first 6 months, she sold over 335,000 copies, and the book was a mainstay on the New York Times bestsellers list. She also reigned in the second largest paperback book deal in publishing history, when Pocket Books bought it for $2.64 million. McMillan was a millionaire, and with all the fanfare of the books, Hollywood came calling. MGM had purchased the rights to Disappearing Acts by 1993. And while she was promoting the Waiting to Exhale novel, she was also developing a script with 20th Century Fox.
More than 20 new movies are on the way this year by black filmmakers, and as Pablo Guzman reports, it's an explosion of talent that has been a long time in the making.
1992, the year the novel was released, was the same year a new wave in black cinema started to emerge. Menace to Society, Juice, House Party, even Boys in the Hood the year before were mostly male-led and either dealt with absurd comedy or the tough realities of growing up in the hood. The closest thing we had to a female-led movie akin to what A Waiting to Exhale could be would be maybe She's Gotta Have It.
And if in the end it helps some other people out, well then that's fine too.
By 1994, McMillan and Ronald Bass had finalized the script, and Forest Whitaker was chosen by the producers to direct the film. Once the audience got a whiff of who was directing, a well-established actor with both music videos and one other film under his directing belt, but a male nonetheless, many women were frustrated by the decision to hire a man to tell these women's stories, to which McMillan stated to the New York Times, "It's not about gender, it's about his understanding of the work."
I'll read a little bit of Savannah.
Yeah.
When Terry McMillan optioned Waiting to Exhale for the big screen, she already had a clear vision of who should play Savannah.
What's your name?
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett was a force. From Boys in the Hood to Malcolm X, she has cemented herself as one of Hollywood's most respected actors. So naturally, McMillan had her in mind for Savannah, the level-headed TV producer searching for love. But Angela had other plans.
And I said, okay, great, I want to be Bernadine.
With it not taking too much convincing for the producers to hand Angela the role of Bernadine. I mean, come on, it's Angela Bassett. The team now needed to find someone to play the role of Savannah.
I wanted to be Bernadine too, Angela.
Every actress in Hollywood was vying for a role in this film, but director Forest Whitaker had someone else in mind. Whitney Houston, who had only one movie credit to her name, was already a proven box office draw. Her debut in The Bodyguard was a global phenomenon, raking in over $400 million worldwide. And with her star power and magnetic presence, she was the perfect choice to bring Savannah to life. Plus, she was Whitney Houston. Loretta Devine was not an Academy Award nominee or a Grammy Award winner like the two former castmates I just mentioned, but her resume was impressive. Not only was she Laurel Robinson in the original cast of the Broadway classic Dreamgirls, but she had been in over 10 films by the time 1995 came around. She initially auditioned for the role thinking she didn't have a shot, and she found out she got it when one of the girls she auditioned with called her and told her
she didn't get it. She called somebody and they told her that I got it. She called and said, "Oh, Miss Fang, well, you got it."
Leela Rashawn was sunshine, literally.
If you threw it up in the air, it would turn into sunshine.
She'd been working in the business for over 10 years and she wanted the role badly. But for some reason, she couldn't get an audition. Previously being featured in films like Boomerang and Harlem Nights, she had never been a leading lady, often being reduced to eye candy or comedic relief. She went around asking anyone she knew if they had connections to Forest or Terry McMillan. And once she got in contact with Terry saw what she could do and gave her the opportunity. And once Leela got it, she nailed it. Production of the film began in February 1995, with Whitney Houston as the first principal cast member on the shooting schedule. Whitney was nervous. This was only her second movie, and unlike the glitz and glam of her previous film, The Bodyguard, this role required a different kind of vulnerability. In The Bodyguard, Whitney plays Rachel Marin, a music superstar stalked by an obsessed fan. The role allowed her to lean into what she knew best, which was performance, but with its show-stopping musical numbers, the presence of Kevin Costner, and the blend of action and interracial romance, the acting sometimes took a backseat to the spectacle. Waiting to Exhale was different. This time, Whitney had to strip away that superstar sheen and develop a performance rooted in raw emotion and relatability. She was playing a regular person, a challenge she wasn't entirely sure that she was ready for.
You know, there's a part where Savannah's getting dressed and she's listening to Whitney Houston's record, How Will I Know? And I was like,
Because Whitney hadn't been regular in a long time. By the time Waiting to Exhale began filming, she had been a global superstar for nearly a decade. Her lead single from The Bodyguard, I Will Always Love You, was an absolute smash. It was still in regular radio rotation and would go on to be certified diamond, becoming the first song by a U.S. artist to sell over 4 million copies. But despite her musical dominance, Whitney's acting chops were under scrutiny. Her performance in The Bodyguard earned her a Razzie nomination, which undoubtedly added to her nerves about stepping into a more stripped-down, emotionally raw role. Unlike the glamour and theatrics of Rachel Marron, Waiting to Exhale required Whitney to play a character closer to real life. No performance armor to hide behind.
I've got a lot of flack, about I sing too white, or I sing white or something like that,
One thing Whitney wanted to set straight with this film is that she, in fact, identified as a Black woman. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You see, when she was first introduced to the world by Clive Davis, many in the music industry reduced her to an industry plant, set out to appease the pop charts while using a Black face. Al Sharpton even called to boycott her, calling her Whitey Houston, saying she was a sellout and her music wasn't Black enough, whatever that means. She was even booed at the 1988 Soul Train Awards due to this narrative, and it seemed to have bothered her even years after.
As difficult as it is for a Black girl to make it in this world, she's a superstar all over the world.
Filming would last 60 days in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Angela raved about the production of the film, stating that it was perfectly cast when pointing out both Lela Rochon and Loretta Devine's performances. Terry was on set and very active in the production. To Ebony, she stated that Loretta was the most natural and stole a few scenes, which I have to agree with. And let's talk about the soundtrack. Produced by the legendary Babyface, it was the first of its kind, with songs from all female R&B performers. The soundtrack captured the essence of the movie's themes: love, heartbreak, resilience, and empowerment. Whitney's Exhale became an anthem, effortlessly topping the charts. Tracks like Brandy's Sitting Up in My Room and Mary J. Blige's Not Gonna Cry spoke to the struggles and triumphs of women everywhere, making it one of the most celebrated R&B soundtracks and R&B albums of all time. The soundtrack was nominated for 11 Grammy Awards, winning 1 for Best R&B Song for the lead single, Exhale.
Stop holding your breath. Waiting to Exhale is finally here.
The film was released on December 22nd, 1995, and opened at number 1 at the box office. Both the book and the film open on New Year's Eve, an obvious nod to fresh starts and new beginnings. The film begins with Savannah Jackson, a newfound TV producer preparing for a New Year's Eve party in her new city of Phoenix. Savannah is reflective, hopeful for a fresh start, yet wary from her past experiences. As she gets dressed, she muses.
The truth is, most men are deaf. They prefer to guess what you need, but they don't guess for it. They lie without a conscience. What they're best at is convincing us we should feel desperate. Thank God I don't fall for that.
And just like that, we're introduced to Savannah's point of view and her kryptonite, dishonest men. While Savannah is accomplished and confident in her career, her vulnerability in love reveals a recurring pattern of choosing men who can't fully commit or be truthful. This sets the stage not only for her personal journey, but also for one of the film's central themes: the woman's balance between self-worth and the longing for companionship. Next, we're introduced to Bernadine Harris, preparing for her husband John's company party. Their lifestyle screams affluence, reflected in Bernadine's luxurious bathroom as she meticulously gets ready, her appearance embodying the role of the perfect trophy wife. However, her life is turned upside down in an instant when John casually announces that he's leaving her for another woman, who also happens to be his secretary. Blindsided and furious, Bernadine confronts him, reminding him of the countless sacrifices she's made, including giving up her dreams to support his career. But John, smug and indifferent, dismisses her pain. This moment sets Bernadine's arc in motion as she grapples with heartbreak, rage, and the challenge of rebuilding her life. Robin Stokes is introduced as a beautiful yet deeply insecure woman. Although her successful career as an executive isn't immediately highlighted in her first vignette, her inner monologue makes it clear that her love life consumes her thoughts. Spending New Year's Eve alone in her stylish apartment, Robin confides in her dog about the latest man troubles. Her current love interest, the married Russell, is scornfully reduced, in her words, to a
sneaky horse Pisces.
Robin's story is one of repeating unhealthy patterns in relationships, as she often settles for less than what she deserves in the pursuit of love. Finally, we meet Gloria Matthews, a single mother and salon owner who has devoted her life to raising her teenage son, Ricc. Gloria is warm and nurturing, but struggles with loneliness, and her son senses it. Her world revolves around him, but she's beginning to feel the weight of her own needs for love and companionship as he grows older and more independent. Gloria is hopeful about an upcoming visit from Ricc's father, with whom she shares a complicated history. The last time he visited, they were intimate, and she's holding on to the possibility that their connection might rekindle. Through these introductions, the film establishes its four leads as complex, flawed, and deeply relatable women, but it also introduces them as a bit male-centered. While the focus on their romantic struggles reflects real challenges many women face, it risks overshadowing other facets of their identities. Their careers, friendships, and personal growth often feel secondary to the pursuit or fallout of their relationships with men, which limits the film's exploration of their full potential as multifaceted characters. But let's be honest, don't we all know or used to know women like this? Didn't some of us used to be women like this? Spend 30 minutes at a bar with a couple 20 or 30-somethings, and I'm sure the topic of men and relationships will come up at least once. And I get it, because as a single woman in my late 20s, I've been there. I've had relationships that mirror the highs and lows in this film. I've climbed the corporate ladder, and yet the societal pressure that tells us to find someone, get married, and be outwardly chosen is very real. And you can see how that pressure has the ability to manifest itself within the women in this film. As unfair as it is, women, especially those in my community, are constantly faced with this pressure. And this film is raw. It's honest about it, and it reflects real-life experiences. That's what makes it resonate. At the party, Savannah is immediately confronted with the reality of her situation. Most of the men are already coupled, and she feels the stares from other women who view her as a potential threat. Savannah, however, isn't one to tiptoe around the truth. She lays it all out, saying,
I'm single and desperate and have no morals, and as soon as one of you turns your back, I'm going to flirt my butt off and then take your man.
This moment is really the first sign that Waiting to Exhale isn't just about calling out all the problems with men. It's also about digging into the flaws, vulnerabilities, and questionable choices of its women. Savannah's blunt admission makes it clear that she's far from perfect, and she's dealing with a complicated mix of ambition, loneliness, and the weight of societal expectations, just like the other women in the story.
You haven't danced with me all night.
When doing my research for this video, I came across some pretty interesting critiques of the film from both male and female critics, Black and white. Many took issue with the women's choices and their hyper-focus on men. These characters aren't perfect, and for some reason, their decisions don't align with what the critics thought they should have done. A 1996 review by Lady Terry at SF Gate harshly criticized Waiting to Exhale, reducing it to a series of stereotypes. They say, and I quote, "Whitney Houston plotted to steal other women's boyfriends. Angela Bassett smoked, drank, and couldn't control her temper. Loretta Devine was whiny and desperate, and Leela Rashan couldn't even keep her clothes on for most of the movie." And that brings me to another point. With the scarcity of films depicting modern Black women, there's an unspoken pressure for these portrayals to be flawless. The burden of representation often forces characters into unrealistic molds, stripping them of the complexity and humanity that makes stories compelling. Is it so wrong for a character to drink, to be outwardly sexual, to be a little whiny? Must we only see these women as strong, loyal, or sanitized versions of themselves? The first scene any of the women have together is in Gloria's salon. There, the two, Gloria and Robin, are all bantering about when the news hits them that John left Bernie. The shock hits them hard, and the women spring into action without hesitation, each showing their distinct personalities and how they respond. Gloria, ever the nurturer, immediately picks up the phone to call Bernadine. She begins leaving a concerned voicemail, but Robin, impatient and direct, snatches the phone right out of her hand.
"Bernie, how dare that son of a leave you with 2 kids?"
We immediately then see Bernadine's house, an expansive mountainside Arizona home that today would at least cost a few $1,000,000. She's stewing, laying in bed, obviously had been crying. She plays the answering machine. Obviously, the message from Robin and Gloria plays, but then there's a message from Savannah.
"Hi, Bernie. It's Savannah. I'm here. Call me."
As the message plays, Bernadine's house feels kind of empty and sterile, despite its grandeur, a silent witness to the unraveling of her life. After sending her 2 kids off to school, she sits alone in the quiet, and then suddenly she realizes that this bastard just really up and left her. Then she goes off. Meanwhile, Robin is having a romantic night with someone who doesn't fit the picture-perfect image of her ideal man. She literally calls him a
human submarine sandwich.
But despite her initial skepticism, there's something real and unexpected about their connection. And though the scene is played with humor, it hints at her need to rethink her priorities and confront her own perceived wants. Gloria is excited about her ex-husband David coming to visit, but the dynamic quickly shifts when David rebuffs her advances and tells her that he's not attracted to women anymore.
Okay.
Though Gloria still harbors feelings for him, she realizes it's time to move on at that moment. As the film progresses, the women's 4 lives intertwine and their friendships deepen. Savannah reconnects with Kenneth, a married man she had feelings for in the past. Despite knowing better, she falls into an emotional and physical affair with him, grappling with her own loneliness and the pressure from her mama to get with a good man.
He's a good man, Savannah.
Bernadine deals with the fallout of her divorce, fighting for custody of her children and spousal support as she learns John has put everything in his name. Gloria meets her new neighbor, Marvin King, a kind, soft-spoken man who immediately catches her attention. Gloria's relationship with Marvin begins to blossom as he brings a sense of calm and stability to her life. At the same time, she struggles to let go of her overprotective tendencies as Ricc prepares to join up with the people. Robin is dating around. The human submarine sandwich tried to undermine her at work, so she dropped him. Then she tried dating Troy, who had a bad drug habit. And Russell is still in the picture as well. Faced with a pregnancy scare, Robin begins to reevaluate her choices and what she truly wants for her future. My favorite scene in Waiting to Exhale is Gloria's birthday party around the hour and 20-minute mark. It's a rare moment of joy and friendship as Gloria, Savannah, Robin, and Bernadine let loose together. But the mood shifts when Bernadine, simmering with anger, decides to confront John's mistress. As Bernie dials, the others try to stop her, leading to a mix of tension and comic relief when Robin impulsively grabs the phone and snaps.
No, it's not John.
Gloria, the voice of reason, steps in, reminding Bernie that stooping to this level won't bring her peace. When Bernie resists, Gloria unplugs the phone, ending the chaos. Eventually, the women realize how ridiculous this all was and they start to dance. The scene beautifully captures the heart of this film. Sisterhood as a source of healing, laughter, and strength, even in life's messiest moments. The turning points for each woman comes when they take steps to reclaim their agency. Bernadine confronts John during a court hearing, standing up for herself and reclaiming her voice. This leads to her getting over $1.5 million in the settlement, along with other assets. Savannah decides to end things with Kenneth, realizing that she deserves more than a relationship built on lies. Gloria opens up her heart to Marvin, allowing herself to feel loved and appreciated for the first time in years. And Robin, realizing she can't rely on anyone else to make her happy, decides to raise her baby on her own terms. The film closes on New Year's Eve, bringing the story full circle. The women gather together to celebrate the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. They faced heartbreak, made mistakes, and taken bold steps towards self-discovery. As the clock strikes midnight, they toast to new beginnings, self-love, and the unwavering power of their sisterhood.
I know it's going to score with female audiences frustrated by men. I thought the guys as a group here were pretty lame as characters.
On the surface, this film was written off by many people as a male-bashing piece. Savannah's man was a cheater. Bernadine's husband was basically Lucifer. Gloria's ex-husband didn't even like women anymore. And Robin's men were all a mess. In that same critique from SF Gate, the writer stated, "Yes, my Black brothers have made some mistakes, but if we as Black women don't back them, who will?" The film debuted shortly after the Million Man March in October 1995, a moment of unity and empowerment for Black men led by Louis Farrakhan. The march called for accountability, brotherhood, and a redefinition of how Black men were perceived in the media and society at large. Against this backdrop, it's easy to see how Waiting to Exhale might have been misinterpreted as antagonistic to that message. In Ebony magazine, writer Audrey Chapman states, "There are many Black men and women who come together every day and form healthy and loving bonds upon which they build a future of love and commitment. If only Waiting to Exhale could have shown just one couple."
Well, I'm Marvin King. Yeah, your new neighbor.
Marvin is practically the perfect man. Respectful, attractive, attentive to Gloria's needs, and fully accepting of who she is. He represents what so many of the critics said they were missing in the film, a positive, loving example of a Black man. Yet, in so many critiques I've read, focused on tearing down the portrayal of men in the story, Marvin is barely mentioned. It's as if for some, the overwhelming portrayal of Savannah, Bernadine, and Robin's love lives overshadowed the simple beauty of Gloria and Marvin's connection. Maybe it's because Marvin's presence is quieter, less dramatic, and more understated compared to the explosive chaos surrounding the other characters. Or maybe it's because Gloria isn't perceived as conventionally desirable in the same way as the other women. Maybe her story doesn't matter as much? But don't get me started because that's a whole other tangent. Marvin's character is there. His connection with Gloria is there, and it offers the balance that many critics claimed was absent. But let's pretend he wasn't there for a second. In this film, told from the perspective of 4 women, if Savannah is labeled a so-called adulterer, Bernadine a rage-filled smoker, Gloria whiny, and Robin a Jezebel, then what's wrong with also depicting the men who play a role in these vices? In action, the film is not throwing anyone under the bus. It's about showing the flaws on both sides. That's the point of a story like this, to hold up a mirror to life, not just its ideals. And I'm not saying the movie doesn't have its flaws. Some scenes tend to drag out a bit too long, and I would have much rather watched Savannah navigate her new TV job rather than shack up for a weekend with the Allstate guy. I'd rather see Bernadine figure out how to divvy up the money she was left by her ex than cuddle up with that weird Wesley Snipes character. But the messiness of the characters is what makes the film worth watching. And to dwindle it down to a main thesis or goal, the movie is about sisterhood. Ebony writer Audrey Chapman wrote in a 1996 article, Exhaling and Inhaling, "Their poor choices of men have as much to do with the women's lack of understanding about themselves, about their own needs, desires, and interests, as it does with the men's inherent flaws." In this light, Exhale is more interested in highlighting the tortured condition of the female psyche and how women can help one another regain their balance than it is in pinpointing the wretched irresponsibility of some Black men. It's been almost 30 years since Waiting to Exhale was released, and in that time, only a handful of feature films have starred an all-Black female ensemble. It's hard not to wonder if, despite the film's commercial success and cultural impact, Hollywood still hesitates to fully embrace stories that center modern Black women and all their complexity and nuance. Waiting to Exhale was groundbreaking. It still is groundbreaking. There hasn't been anything quite like it before or since. And until there is, I'll keep holding my breath.